Thank you for staying with us. A celebration of gaming, the gamers and developers. This year, the event boasted skills, workshops and talks with industry professionals, sharing insights as well as their experiences. It is a community-driven initiative with major studio partners coming together. Now, to tell us more, we are joined by Raymond Ledwaba, who's the spokesperson for the Afrigames Consortium, as well as Vulane Mthembu, who's the project manager for the Joburg Games Festival. Gentlemen, good to have you on the program this evening. Raymond, I'll start with you. A general question really to get us off. How do you see technology evolving, especially in the South African gaming industry? And what trends should we be aware of?
Thank you very much for having me. I think we are now obviously in the era where gaming is something that we cannot ignore. So gaming globally is an industry that is bigger than the film and the music industry combined. But the challenge is obviously that in South Africa, we are a consumer-driven economy in this gaming space and not a producer-driven economy. So out of the 26 million people who play video games in South Africa, who generate over 7 billion rands in revenues for the gaming industry, most of that revenue leaves our shores and it goes overseas. So what we are trying to do as the Afrigames Consortium is ensure that we can build a producer-centric economy in South Africa and have local gaming studios that also get to share in this revenue.
Vulane, for those who aren't familiar with the Afrigames, what would you say were some of the standout moments or highlights from the Joburg Games Festival that you really think will leave a lasting impression on attendees?
Yes, thank you so much for that question. Joburg Games Festival is actually, the aim of it was to actually focus a lot on the makers, the people who actually create the games, which is mostly the game developers. We did have, of course, an arcade section, and we had talks and workshops and the likes from PAG, for example, and Epic was also helping to facilitate the workshops there. But mostly it was focused on people who make games. We want to make sure what we want people to take away from it is that, I mean, it is not as inaccessible as it was before, especially for marginalized communities. We also brought in schools to attend the festival, and so that people who might not necessarily be exposed to these sort of opportunities are also exposed. So it was quite a successful one. And the biggest takeaway is, of course, that the gaming industry is here and it's growing, and yeah, we need to support it. We need to support it.
Staying with you, Vulane, how do you measure the success of an event like this or the Joburg Games Festival, particularly regarding its impact on the community, but also growth within the gaming industry?
Yes, thank you. Of course, we currently in South Africa do have, which we also work with and partner with the other two major festivals, which is the Playtopia Festival and Afrigames, which are both in Cape Town. And what we have realized in the past few years, that they've been going for close to 10 years now, we've realized that in Joburg, there hasn't been a festival to support another community of rising game developers from that area. So we've had meetups monthly leading up to the festival, and we've realized that every month we are having an average of 150 plus developers. These are just pure developers, people who are making games. And the numbers keep growing. And at the rate we are at now, and the festival we had around 450 and above attendees coming to the festival. And I think that's quite a huge number, considering that it's a festival focusing mostly on people who are making games. And of course, this was attended by studios as well, who are on the lookout for talent to employ and get on their books, to create games. So this is looking good.
Raymond, in your opinion, what unique opportunities does the South African gaming market present for both local and international developers as well?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at our Afrigames Consortium as an example, we are a group of organizations, 6 organizations. So ITTYNK Gaming, the company that I lead, is into developing games and developing African-inspired games. We have opportunities for training young people in the space. So our partners at Academy of Digital Arts based in Cape Town is helping young people, providing bursaries and helping them get educated into the space. We work with Wits University Incubator at Simologong, which is incubating startups. So the Afrigames Consortium is going to incubate about 6 startups in the next 2 years. And then we also have Africa Games Week that Vulane spoke about, which is a festival that, matches game developers, studios with investors, local and international investors. So locally, if you want to get into the space, Africa Games Week is the place to be, where you get to meet people in the industry, but also internationally, if you want to get into the South African, or rather the African gaming ecosystem, Africa Games Week is a place to be. Then we've got Leaders in Motion Academy, our partners who are telling the story about the gaming industry in South Africa. So content is obviously a unique opportunity for young people and anyone interested in getting into the space to, play a role in. So Leaders in Motion Academy is filming the story and telling the story. And then lastly, our partner Spielfabrik, based in Germany. It's an accelerator, and they are bringing in this international experience, all these mentors from abroad, to work with our local developers. So the opportunities are quite enormous and they're quite vast. I think we're demonstrating it through the Afrigames Consortium. Obviously, we would like to shout out our partner, the Jobs Fund from National Treasury, that has supported us as a group of companies in South Africa that are saying, we want to create a producer-centric gaming economy and not only be people who are game players and consumers, and we're buying games that are not made in South Africa and they're made abroad.
Vulane, can you share any success stories, if you will, from previous festivals or even initiatives that really demonstrate the power of collaboration, especially in the gaming community?
Definitely. The Goethe Institute, which I work for, and which is the primary funder as well of the Joburg Games Fest, has quite a long history in South Africa of supporting game development. We have a lot of success stories. For example, the 2 festivals that I've mentioned now that are game industry focused centric, which is Africa Games Week and also Playtopia. We're also we're one of the founding partners, and we're still continuously funding them. And these festivals over. Some of them are over 10 years old, and some are, it's over a decade. So it's something that we've been supporting for a long time. But also the studios, the big 4 studios, as they are always referred to, that are employing quite a huge number of developers that are based in Africa, are also direct beneficiaries of our projects that we've had in the last 10 years or so. So that the Institute has. Most of the projects that the Institute is involved with are quite, substantial, and they are, they're lasting and have quite an impact. And we're hoping that the Game Fest as well, this was an inaugural year for it, since it's targeting as well a demographic that's not necessarily targeted by Africa Games Week, which is more business-centric, and you have Playtopia, which is more for exhibition. This is more, we're targeting more of the developers. And also when we talk developers, I think it's very important to understand that the game industry is just like any other industry. We don't only, when we talk developers, we're not only talking coders, we are also talking artists, 3D artists, riggers, just the whole industry, just like any other the film industry. We need also lawyers, we need legal experts, but who are focused in gaming, game development, and game industry law. So this is a whole gamut that we cover.
Raymond, in your view, what role does mentorship play, especially in nurturing new talent in the gaming sector? And how can events like the Joburg Games Festival really facilitate those kind of connections?
Yeah, mentorship, just not only in the gaming industry, but across every industry, is an important thing to have, because you need people who've walked the path. You need people who have the experience to share that experience and help educate young people in terms of the mistakes that they have made that they shouldn't make. So for us, mentorship in the gaming industry is quite crucial. And the gaming industry is an industry that is very collaborative, and people want to work together, and they want to, share their journey and share the experience that they've walked. So collaborating with Joburg Games Festival brings experienced developers and brings students and brings, young game developers into one space. And what tends to happen then is that through, networking, through talks, through workshops, this skill is then being transferred from the people who are more experienced to the younger ones, you know? And I think that's how you grow any industry, because you need the wisdom of the elderly and the people who are more experienced. And then you need the energy of very young people who then are capable of going the extra mile, you know? And it's a nice synergy between experienced and juniors. So that's what you get at a festival like the Joburg Games Festival.
Yeah. And Vulane, what strategies are being implemented to really ensure that the festival remains, call it relevant, and adapts to the ongoing industry trends and challenges there?
Definitely. That's actually one of the main things that when we started and we had created a roadmap for the Games Fest that we thought about, because as well, it's very important. Sustainability for us is a huge thing as a good institute. As I said, most projects that we do partner with and, sort of sponsor have, quite a long roadmap, and they're able to be sustainable. So one of the main things that we wanted to make sure was to tap into demographics that are not necessarily have been sort of, tapped in before, address a lot of communities where game development is not seen as a viable sort of career path. And there's a huge push in terms of investment in those communities that we have initiated in this project. And we are using the mapping, because we've done over 5 years of mapping in terms of the space in Africa, not only in South Africa, again, because of the reach of the Goethe Institute, because we're in almost every African country as well, using some of the learnings that we're getting from that, also tweaking and actually enabling to make sure that all the strategies that we employ, meaning going out, and how we are actually empowering people, because of course we know we in Africa, particularly in South Africa, we have also the challenge of equipment to create these things, making sure that we partner and collaborate with hubs that are based in these communities as well, so that we by either sending equipment there or also taking people to places like the Joburg Games Fest, or even to certain community-driven events or sort of institutions as well that are partly funded by us, and also that are involved with the consortium, as Ray is mentioning. But we spread the work across everyone else. But but we do have a lot of intensive studies that we have done in the past. There's a few mappings that were done. There's another one that's going to be released as well, the results soon. So we do have quite a good sense of where we should be focusing, because it's also brand new ground, but we're not starting from scratch. So that kind of helps, yeah.
Raymond, as we wrap, let's explore these issues. Diversity and representation, these are essential, even in the gaming development. What actions can we take to really promote these values within the festival and the broader gaming community?
Yeah, I mean, diversity and inclusion is a very important topic. And when we're looking at diversity and inclusion in the gaming industry, we're looking across, obviously, gender. We need to ensure that there's a lot of women that participate in the industry. We're also looking at demographics that represent the country, such as race. So there's research that has been conducted by Wits University's incubator. So Tsimologo commissioned a study in 2021, trying to understand the South African gaming landscape. And what that study found is that the South African games industry is pretty much around 80% of the companies that exist in the country are white male run. And so, we need to really ensure that we can transform these demographics. They should represent the demographics of the country. So we are initiating initiatives such as Career Days, where we go into township schools, because one of the key things that we need to do is educate young people that you don't only have to play games, you can actually make games. And then secondly, we need to also educate parents that when their kids are saying they want to develop games, they can really be taken seriously. Fortunately, there's still a stigma that is attached to gaming and to game development, and it is seen as a toy. It is seen as something that is not really an economic driver. And if you look at the numbers, like I said earlier, the gaming industry globally is almost a $200 billion industry. it is bigger than the film industry and the music industry combined. Almost half of the world's population plays video games. So we cannot ignore this industry. And we've got such a rich history of storytelling, of culture, of art that needs to be told. And currently, Africa and South Africa is not playing a role in telling our own stories globally. So the issue when the industry is not represented is that, you know, a group of developers locally are missing out on an opportunity to tell their story. But more importantly, customers and players around the world are missing out on stories that have never been told, on stories they've never seen before in games. So there's a big injustice happening when we are not transforming the industry and ensuring that it's inclusive all around. So, you know, this today at the Joburg Games Festival, we're proud that we worked with Randfontein High School, and we had approximately 40 young kids who are still in high school who came to the festival, who got to see that, you know, there are people who make games who look like them. And our hope is that they can go back home, they can tell their parents that, hey, when I play these games now, I can make them. I know how to make them. I know where I need to go to study. And which organizations I can reach out to for mentorship, for access to funding and things like that. So the Joburg Games Festival was quite instrumental in educating this group of young students. And it's still early days. And we're hoping that, you know, as we walk this journey over the next 5-10 years, that the students who attended today, they will be the ones who've built, you know, studios and gaming companies in the future, and they really are the future of the industry. So we're doing our bit to transform the industry, but we really do require a lot more support. It's going to take a long time to really transform this industry, and I know some people are not that patient, but we need to also be realistic about where we are in the industry.
Raymond, let me thank you for your time, as well as Vulane, sharing their insights about the exciting world of gaming